I when I was still going to church, I approached some of the people in my church and I was like, hey, I think there's a possibility that like something demonic's going on. And they were like, oh no, you're a Christian, like you can't have a demon. You can be like oppressed, but you can't be possessed. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm off the hook. Not possessed. Amazing. So I continued to like gaslight myself about that. I ended up leaving the church, and then probably 6 or 7 months, I was just like alone in my house. I was focusing like on my business and stuff. And I started going to another church that was like much smaller, far less people, not as loud, like didn't have a band and stuff. So I was like, surely if it's an anxiety, this church is not going to make me anxious because there's like nothing to make me anxious there, right? Um, but again, like a couple months later, I start getting these symptoms again, this like extreme kind of anxiety feeling, and I start blacking out in my vision. Around that time, I had my endometriosis was under control up until that time, but I started getting pain with my monthly cycle. And it's so funny because the extreme pain would always fall on the days that I had to go to church. Just like probably should have been a red flag. But I was like, maybe it's because like I'm eating more carbs or whatever. So I transitioned back to my all steak diet because I was like, that's definitely going to be good. And that's been great for me. So I left that second church and I really just spent lots of time in prayer. I always knew that there was like, I believe that God was revealing things to me, but because I always second guess myself, I took like way longer to learn the lesson than I should have because I didn't trust myself, and like essentially like I didn't trust God. So I remember praying this prayer, and it was, God, I trust you. Well, help me trust you because I feel like I don't trust you in all things. And if you really are the creator of the world and you really love us, please reveal yourself. And if it is your will, please open my spiritual eyes again. I did mention that when I was younger, I prayed for my spiritual eyes to be closed because I couldn't handle like all the encounters that I had. And I said to God, like, I think I'm ready again to start exploring this, but please be gentle. Like, please, let's go slow. um, and my eyes were opened. The experiences that I've had in the past 6 months have forever changed my life, and I've seen I've seen things that I can't deny anymore. And part of me really just wants to stick my head in the sand and pretend like it didn't happen. Because we know with great power comes great responsibility, right? But I prayed it because I have been seeking the truth for so long. I really desire to know God, to know who He is, and to be able to love others as Christ loved us. That's always been on my heart. So after I prayed this prayer, probably like a week later, a few days later, I started to have these spiritual encounters. So I would see people manifest just in daily life. Like I'd be in the shop or I'd be like speaking with someone and their face would change. And I'd be like, okay, like, did y'all see that? And like everyone else is just acting like normal. So I'm like, okay. I'm just gonna like put that in the folder in the back of my head because like I'm still gaslighting myself after I've like asked God to show me the truth. This happens multiple times. I would be walking into shopping centers and people will literally start manifesting to the point where like they are looking at me, like screaming at me in the middle of like Grand Central in Toowoomba shopping center, and would like run towards me and try and like bowl me over, and I'd literally just like sidestep, and it was like they couldn't come within like a certain range of me. So I was like, okay, this is getting like really interesting. I was like freaked out, but it's still really interesting. So I'm at my friend's place one day and we're doing a Bible study on Revelation 21. And I step outside the front door to give his dog a treat. And I step onto the front porch and I look up into the front yard. And there's like this man standing there. But it was so dark that this figure was darker than like the darkness, than the shadows. So I'm like trying to work this out in like the few seconds that I have. It was a figure of a man with no identifiable features. 6 foot, like just staring at me. Like you could feel, it's like when someone stares at you with like absolute hatred. So I'm like, okay. And I call out to my friend. I'm like, hey, there's someone in the front yard. And my friend gets up and he's Christian. And he grabs his sword and he runs out. And this, just before like he got to the door, this figure, it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen out of like most of my encounters. This figure goes to run to the right, my left, and literally turns into like a whole lot of just black smoke, and then turns into a black dog, and then it kind of just like the smoke dissipates and it disappears. So I'm just standing there like, okay, like that literally just happened. So this is not a case of like this happening one time and it's like maybe questionable. Like I was questioning my anxiety. This has been the past 2 years with multiple instances that I've needed to be able to prove to myself that this is the truth. Like whether you like it or not, everything is spiritual. Whether you like it or not, everything revolves around the God of the Bible. The Bible is real. Jesus is real. He's coming back. And I mean, the people here on my Facebook who knew me in person in like the wildest times in my life, I wouldn't have wanted to confess to this, right? The amount of responsibility that comes with something like this, when you know that this is the truth, is huge. This is life-changing. I haven't actually gotten to the good part yet. So I'm having all these interesting things happen, and I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to get by day, and also just like work on my business and do like normal day things, like keep brushing my hair, keep brushing my teeth. Like there's demons everywhere. Okay, cool. I start to have like all these snake dreams where like snakes are coming in my house, and I'm looking outside my house and there's like snakes everywhere. And I realize now, looking back, that those were prophetic dreams that God had sent me to show me there's demons somewhere and you need to address it. But I didn't know at the time. I think it's so beautiful that like God knows what we can handle, and he's so patient and he's so gentle with us, because he knows like if I were to have had these experiences within the space of like 3 months, I probably would have I would not have handled it well. All we can do is keep our heart right and keep seeking the truth. We live in surrender and God does the rest. So I start looking into deliverance, and because I had felt for ages that God was like preparing me for something. And I started coming across these videos on like my Instagram and my TikTok of this pastor doing deliverance. And I'm sure like other people have seen them as well. You always read the comments and people are like, have you guys hired actors or something? Because this seems fake. Like, surely this is not real. And I was very skeptical. I was like, I don't know if this is real. Like, this is like pretty full on. We don't want to, again, like it's a responsibility thing. We don't want to confess that it's real or even think about the possibility of it being real, because it changes everything. So, well, it doesn't need to. Like, once you know the truth, you have a choice to carry on as normal, or you have a choice to accept that responsibility and to change and live according to that new truth. Excuse me. So I was seeing this specific pastor's videos, and I felt like I could tell the power that he carried, and I was like, if anyone ever did deliverance on me, like I would love this guy too, because like I know that if anyone could find, if there was like something in me, it would be this dude. So I prayed about it, and looking back again, I can understand that God was preparing my heart, because it was almost like he told me, this is the dude. But because the guy's in America, I was like, I was thinking like, I'm never gonna get to America. That's never gonna happen. I'm gonna have to find someone here in Australia. And I kept on praying about it. And like a few months later, I saw this guy's coming to Australia. He's coming to Gold Coast. So I was like, this is getting like really crazy now. So I booked tickets. Like his events are free. So all I had to organize was like an Airbnb, because it was in the Gold Coast. That's like 2+ hours from me. So there's like a bit of planning that goes into it. It was a 2-day event. Had to book an Airbnb and get there and everything. I actually took a friend with me, because I was like, if something happens, like I'm going to need some moral support. But I'm just going to go and see, and it's probably just going to be another Christian conference, right? It's going to be like, you get there, you get prayed for, you feel the Holy Spirit, la-di-da. It's going to be like amazing, and everything's going to feel amazing, and then you just go back home. Yeah, I was wrong about that, but I will get to that. So I booked tickets, and my prayer was I had two prayers, and I had been discussing this with my friend for like weeks. I was like, all of this stuff has happened, and I've literally like seen spirits. I've had all these encounters and stuff, but I'm still gaslighting myself. I can't trust myself that this is like real. So I'm praying. My first prayer is like, I will believe that all of this is real and that I'm not completely insane. If I see someone going through deliverance in front of me, like I need to see it in real life, not on the internet, not in my TikTok reels. My second prayer was, I will believe if I go through deliverance. And again, it's like really amazing what happens when we're just honest with God. I think we go through our lives and we try and like hide our unbelief from God. We try and like, in God's presence, we try and be this like perfect Christian, and then like we go away and we live our lives of sin, but we don't realize like God sees everything. Like he knows what's going on in your head. Like if you're like, I feel insane and I don't trust you, God, I don't trust all of this that's happening, and I don't trust the future you have for me, and I don't trust what you're preparing me for. He's like, yeah, I know. It's like, that's why I'm preparing you. So it's like so silly. So it was a 2-day event, and we got there the first, this is actually like the heavy part, and I'm already like 50 minutes in. We got there, and the first evening was like a 5-hour session. We went in, Apostle Daniel is the deliverance minister. He does a really amazing sermon. He speaks about faith. We had like worship at the beginning of the session, and then he says this prayer, and there's probably about like 350 people more or less in the room, and people just start screaming in the crowd. It's like someone screams in a shopping center. It's like, okay, I'm alerted, but like I don't feel very like unsafe. When you have like 10 to 15 people screaming like at a time, it's like, okay, like I don't feel physically unsafe because I know that I'm safe, but like spiritually I feel unsafe. So I just look at my friend and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. We go through the night and he pulls people up from the crowd who have started manifesting, and he casts demons out of them. I'm like 10 rows from the front, like I'm seeing it in real life, and it's real. So I go home that night and I'm like, okay, this is like really crazy, and this changes everything because this is what I prayed for, and God has shown me that this is real. Like that was my first prayers, to see this stuff in person. So I left with like more questions than I came in with, but I think my pride was also like, well, at least I didn't manifest, you know. Like we were trying to pick like the ones, it sounds bad, but like my friend and I was like, who's gonna go next? Like we we're trying to make a joke out of it because it was like kind of traumatic. And then I got home and I was like, well, if I had a demon, then obviously it would have come out on the first night. So I wake up the second day, and the second day was 2 sessions. So they had the morning session, which they called pre-council, which the people who had tickets, who had booked that session, had the ability to meet with Daniel's team, and to go through like what we wanted prayer for, like what kind of breakthrough we wanted in our life. And we were given this big piece of paper, and we put like a few words on with what we wanted prayer for, like whether it be like sickness or mental issues, or like if you needed healing for like a family member. So that morning I woke up, and I think I was like day 4 or something of my period, which like I shouldn't be having any pain, even though I had pain like a few months prior. I woke up in so much pain, like I could barely walk, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. It's like day 4, I shouldn't be in pain at all. Like maybe there's something wrong. And I said to my friend, like, I don't think I'm gonna make it because like I can't walk, I can't get ready. And then in the back of my mind, it's like, something's trying to keep you from going. So I'm like, okay, well, we drove all the way here. I'm just gonna try and get there. And like if I have a breakdown, then I'm just gonna have to have a breakdown. But I've got to get myself there. So I go there, and like I was in pain, but it kind of like subsided by the time I got to the church. So I got through the morning session. It was like probably like 3 hours or something. And I met with 2 members of Daniel's team, lovely people, a man and a woman. And I was like, I don't really know, like I've been through a whole health journey, as you guys know, like I've healed a lot, but I think like my main thing is like my endometriosis, because my pain had started coming back. I'm like, if I can just get rid of my pain again, then I can be back to like 100% like I was. So the lady wrote endometriosis, and she's like, well, if you have endo, then there's obviously like, we tend to see a lot of emotional trauma with that. So I was like, okay, cool. And she wrote emotional trauma under the endometriosis, like on the piece of paper. So I was like, okay, whatever. We've probably all got emotional trauma. That's cool. So we got ready for the evening session, and it was actually like pain wise, I was feeling like pretty good. We ended up having to like line up outside for like an hour, and like my pain level wasn't too high, which is quite interesting. We went in again. We did like praise and worship, music. Um, Apostle Daniel did a sermon, a message, and then they did the miracle line where like everyone in the room lines up and they all get prayed for. So the people who had gone to the pre-council, the morning session, and got their pieces of paper, they went first. And my friend and I went like, I think we were literally like the third to last row of the people, like the first group with the papers. So we sat and watched like most of what happened, and people were like manifesting, getting prayed for. Like it was at one time it was like really really crazy. But it's amazing. Like you're seeing people get healed in real time. Like they're right there at the front of the room getting healed of things that they've been dealing with for like 40 years or whatever. So it was funny because I, just before we got up to line up to go and get prayed for, I started to feel like super nauseous. And I was like, there were multiple points where I was like, I'm going to need to run to the bathroom because I'm like actually going to vomit. And I was just like praying through it and stuff because I thought it was just my health or like anxiety or whatever. It wasn't anxiety. So we line up and like my pain starts again. And I'm like standing in the line, like I'm gonna have to go and sit down because I like almost can't stand. So we basically get to the front row, like the row of people at the front who are going to be prayed for. And as Apostle Daniel steps in front of me, it's really hard to explain, but the only way that I can explain it so that you can understand is it felt like I took a step back in my consciousness, and it felt like something else took over.